I never grew up with educators that looked like myself. I always knew that wisdom was a powerful tool, but I also know that oftentimes we neglect it because of who it comes from.
Facts.
It's not necessarily just about being a king, it's more so about becoming a kingmaker.
Man, you got to be close enough to relate, but far enough ahead to inspire. How you feeling, Marcus, man?
Man, I'm swell. I'm swell. We kind of chopped it up, boy. Your boy is ready for a power nap. But hey, I'm here. It could always be worse, man. I know we talked about the importance of routines, being consistent. And I would definitely tell you this master is stretching me with everything else on the plate. But the good thing is, man, I only got 3 classes left,
Let's
my
go.
dog. So the finish line is here, so I could taste the gold,
You
man. So
already know. We
yeah,
already know.
yeah. So I'm excited, man. It's crazy because I was rapping with Avery, and Avery was like, "Man, you mean to tell me I gotta go to school for 12 years and then even 4 more for college?" She like a jail sentence. Boy, I
Yeah,
fell out
yeah,
laughing. I
yeah,
said, "Baby." But ironically, man, I've been really in a reflective state where I've been reminiscing, and I've been getting like a lot of flashbacks lately. I don't know, this 30 coming up got me feeling a little different, but I was laughing. I was like, baby, I remember being in your shoes and saying the same
yeah.
exact thing. Like, why am I doing this on a consistent basis? So it's just crazy to be on the opposite side of the spectrum now, man. We just been cracking up, giggling through it all.
Yeah,
But I'm showing her tangible. I'm like, look, daddy is still in school right now, and it's for
yeah.
you. So I need you to understand what you're doing right now is for your future as well too. So it's trying to give her some context to it. As she's doing homework, I'm doing homework.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, man. But I love it all.
That's beautiful to hear, man. You kind of talk about like reminiscing a little bit. Literally last night, me and my girl was going through our high school yearbook, and it was just funny, like just
Mhm.
looking at how we were acting and what we were doing and where we've come. But it had came on the back of a conversation of like how I perceived her in high school and before we got together, and how she perceived me. And her brother, was just having a conversation, with the mother of his child, and it just kind of made us all reflect like, man, like I'm glad we grew and developed into who we are. So it's dope, man. But life is good over here as well. Killing it with the content. The videography business doing pretty good right now. Been getting some referrals. I'm actually supposed to be doing an event later in February for one of our partners that was on the pod a little earlier, Chris Thomas. So
Okay, let's
so
go. Let's
I'm excited
go.
for that, man.
I, s-
What you were saying?
I see you, bro. One thing I just gotta shout
Yeah,
you out for, bro. Like you were consistent.
yeah,
Like every time I check, like my boy is going crazy. I'm like, man, I love it. So I love the consistency, and again, kind of focused on the routine
yeah.
elements. You harped on. I could tell you have really ingrained it into your routine on a consistent basis, and I think that is what has led to the success, the views, the publicity across
Yeah.
the board, man. So let's go together, family. James is the mastermind behind like all this. I just want to go ahead
Yeah.
and throw
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
out there. So again, kudos to you, man, for being consistent, rocking and rolling,
Hey,
bro. I love every time I
man,
see
I
it.
receive that, and it's funny that you mentioned like just the routine because I'm now in a point where I'm switching it up a little bit so that it's more efficient.
Yeah.
But literally, bro, like kind of how I was doing it. I told you what my morning schedule was like, and there's a time every day where I'm like, all right, let me create something real quick. So I'm literally spending like an hour trying to like create something, and I'm like, some days I ain't got it,
Yeah.
Some days I really ain't got it.
I
And
feel it.
so
I promise.
now how I'm switching the routine is like I'm doing certain things on certain days, right? So maybe I record something one day,
Mm.
I plan something another day, then I'm executing and posting on another day. And I think that is gonna help me be even more efficient and more intentional. But man, as we kind of pivot before we bring the guest on, we have two North Carolina natives, man. What y'all think of the J. Cole album?
I mean, bro, the fact that we're in Fayetteville, like, bro, you'll get beat up if you don't like the album. Nah. Let me stop playing. But nah, man, I love what he's doing for the
Yeah,
city. Like he is putting the city on the map. He is really putting that joint on his back, bro. It's literally just downtown, like
yeah,
casual with it. I love that element. That is a humble human being, to say the least. And honestly, anybody who hates on J. Cole, I think you need to evaluate yourself, to be very
yeah,
candid. But I think it was great. I think more than anything, it was a statement on behalf of the city he came
Yeah.
from. I couldn't tell you the name of the song, but he has a song where he basically is rapping his life
Yeah,
backwards.
yeah, yeah.
I listened to that joint like 10 times, bruh. And when I tell you, I was so amazed with how brilliant that man is to even think of that
100%.
concept. And it was such a simplistic video, but it got the message through, man. So again, I think Brad's the GOAT, hand down, man. He is phenomenal, and I'm proud to be in the city of Fayetteville in the midst of all this going on right now,
Yeah.
man. So kudos to that
I
brother.
think that's it's like the fall off is inevitable or something like that. But I saw a
Hmm.
video of him like get an interview talking about his process for doing that. And bro, it was one of those things where I'm like, that's a certain level of genius that I aspire to get to.
Hmm.
Like because he was like
Hmm.
he basically puts parameters on himself, but then he works to break those parameters basically. And I was just like, damn, that's a dope way of thinking about it. He was like, but now that I've started it,
Hmm.
he was like, there's no way I don't finish this. And he was like, you hear him rapping it, he was like, but it probably took me about 12 hours, a couple days, you know, across a couple days to do it. And I was like, man, that's a level of being locked in that I need to try to get to, man. But man, would love to get our guest
Definitely.
perspective on this as well. You know, also being a Fayetteville native. So without further ado, we're gonna bring our guest on.
Hey, I ain't never had no applause like that. That was smooth. That was smooth. That was smooth. That was smooth. What's up, y'all? How y'all doing?
That I would definitely want to hear about if you're rocking with the album or not, and then you know if you have a favorite song, which one is it?
Yeah, nah, I was over here grinning. I don't know if y'all could even see me while y'all was talking, but I was over here grinning because I do agree with what Marcus stated. This is a album that Cole dedicated to the city of Fayetteville, and if you're in Fayetteville, you feel it. Um,
Yeah.
a song I listened to. Um, is the one where he mentions like he on Bragg getting pulled by PD. His tags
Yeah,
are there.
yeah,
Old dog. I can't remember. I should know like old dog or something. Because most of the songs, not all the songs, have some kind of love letter component to it.
yeah.
And even I don't know if you all saw this, but the tickets for the concert in Fayetteville dropped today. But for the
Mm,
first hour, it was only for those in a 30-mile radius of the city of Fayetteville.
bro, that's fire.
So, and you're seeing artists kind of um, take that homegrown approach. We saw it with Bad Bunny and doing his all his stuff in Puerto Rico for the Puerto Rican community, and now you
Mm,
see Cole doing something very similar, where tickets were only allowed to go, or first allowed to go, in the hometown show through those in the city. So, you know, that's pretty dope. And my opinion, and we'll get chop it up a little bit more, is like there's a lot of momentum on the city in the city of Fayetteville right now. A lot of eyes on the city of Fayetteville right now.
Mhm.
And if we really want to make some shifts, then now is the time because I was chopping up with someone recently. Like we're not going to have an opportunity like this, and probably in our
yeah,
lifetime, where so many eyes are on the city. So now's the time.
that's real.
But
Hmm. Nah, 100%. To your point, I love he dropped it on 2-6 as well too,
on
right? For
Tuesday, yeah,
anybody who doesn't know, Fayetteville is
yeah,
2-6. You gonna hear the and all that extra stuff, but but I say that to
yeah.
say he was so intentional with the marketing, the
Hmm.
rollout. Not to compare and to contrast, but I'm a huge Russell fan, and right for
Hmm.
for for me, both of those individuals are beyond innovative and really helping to redefine the space itself altogether. So from J Cole to pull up in the old beat up whip that he talks about,
Yeah,
he's
man.
Yep.
tangibly showing you now
Downtown.
to go to different. You feel me? But then to go to other HBCUs throughout North Carolina to literally sell it out his trunk, how he began doing, was phenomenal just across the board, man. So
Yep.
again, if you are not a J. Cole fan, I would ask you to evaluate yourself right now because this brother
Evaluate.
is phenomenal.
Hey, I just wanted to say
uh,
this, man. You know, the young people gonna say we glazing, but it was funny. I was listening to one of the songs, and I didn't understand what he was saying. I didn't know if he was saying it's an unknown number, but then the more I listened to it, he said it's a 910 number. So I go to Marcus
I want old
contact.
number.
Yeah, I go to Marcus contact. I'm like, he got 910 number. Okay, he's saying, okay, I
Hmm.
get it now. I get it now. So I was like, bro. So it's just, it was definitely an ode to Fayetteville for sure. But man,
for sure.
would love to get into your story a little bit, man. First
So
and foremost, man, introduce yourself to the listeners and tell them a little bit about yourself.
for sure, for sure. Well, one, gratitude to you and Marcus for allowing me to be on the podcast today. Marcus has been a good brother to know ever since I moved back to the city. For those listening, my name is John Jones. I am born and raised in the city of Fayetteville, North Carolina. It's pretty neat to have this conversation with two perspectives that I have some resonation with, being that most of my career has taken place in the city of Chicago, which I know, Mr. Turner, I know that's where you're residing currently. Got a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah.
love for Chicago. I would call that easily my second home. But to describe myself a little bit, first, God fearing man, not a perfect man, but one who strives to be more like that. So, with that in mind, that's how I strive to be. Also, I'm a family man. I don't have children or anything like that, but I'm a proud brother, proud son, proud godfather too.
Yeah.
Um, a little bit about myself outside of that is I work in community safety or violence prevention, as some may call it. How do we think about decreasing violence and addressing public safety in a way that really is more holistic and partners with community and is for community? We recognize we're not going to rest ourselves out of violence. So if someone's stealing food, you feed them. You don't arrest them for stealing food. So with
Yeah.
that in mind, how do we utilize that approach into addressing systemic concerns and systems that have been in place for years and years? So that's kind of I learned all about that in Chicago. Moved up there, was on the west side, North Lawndale, at an
Okay.
organization called You Can Chicago. And then I transitioned over to the Chicago Department of Public Health and then ended up with the mayor's office of community safety. Then finally had the opportunity to slide back down to the crib, and here I am in the city of Fayetteville, where we have our very first office of community safety, which I'm more than proud to be the director for that office.
Yeah.
So, and then now I'm on a 9 o'clock podcast,
Yeah.
9:15,
For sure.
with Mr. Turner and Mr. Jenkins. So, just
Yeah.
a little bit about myself. But again, glad to be here.
So we appreciate you for even coming blessing the space, man. But just for those who don't know, you say community safety. Tell us what that is, because some people may think, is that the police? Is that law enforcement? But go ahead
Yeah.
and explain to the listeners what exactly that is.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you think of the broader category of safety, the term public safety is commonly used. So when you think of public safety, you think of police departments and fire departments.
Yeah.
Now across the nation, and a trend that started in Chicago, the very first office of violence prevention, I believe, started in 1996 in the city of Chicago. But across the nation, you see larger cities take a different approach to addressing violence and safety in their community areas. Of course, the police will never be removed, so we
Yeah.
recognize that. But when you think about the needs of the people and the root causes of violence, there was at one point there was no system in place to coordinate solutions working through community to do so. So with that in mind, we think of the term community safety, especially when it comes to the city of Fayetteville and Chicago, might I add,
Yeah.
at the mayor's office of community safety. The biggest thing is one, community. We recognize that for us to address the root causes of violence, we have to work with the community to identify what that is.
Yeah.
I can't speak on the side of Fayetteville that I didn't grow up on, but I can speak on the side of Fayetteville I did grow up on. Same in Chicago. I couldn't really speak for anywhere 'cause I wasn't from there, but my experience was in North Lawndale. But I couldn't go to South Lawndale, little village, and share what's going on. I couldn't go to Garfield Park and share what's going on because I only really knew North Lawndale. So the best way for me as a government employee to identify the best solution is to go to North Lawndale or go to Garfield Park, listen to those in those areas, and then come back in my position, bring that back to the drawing board and identify how we as a governmental entity can play a role in creating that solution with community, not just for, but with.
Yeah.
And when you think about community safety as well, like we're thinking about how do we address like mental health in a way that removes law enforcement? How do we address youth programming with partners like Roots Mentoring in the city of Fayetteville, North Carolina, who are doing incredible work here in our city, who are meeting young people where they're at and walking alongside on life mentorship? What does it look like for us to think about our unhoused community and recognize that, yes, on the surface level, they are unhoused, but there's so many layers underneath that
Mhm.
as a government system, our mindset should be people first.
Yeah.
So when you think about community safety and all that all those components, is always about the people that we're working with and how do we care for them in a way that systems have never been. And to do that, we must recognize the systems that were put in place that put us in this position first. Chicago has a great history of that. But we must recognize that and then move forward. And when you think about how Chicago has declined in crime for 7+ years in a row and has the lowest homicide since '65, why? Is because we're utilizing community led solutions. And we look to do the same thing here in the city of Fayetteville with partners like Marcus Jenkins and others in the city.
That's love. That's love. What I hear for those who may this may be their first time really interpreting it is really being the bridge, right?
Yeah.
I understand that there is some issues that have been addressed, but let's be proactive in understanding the
Mhm.
root cause of them and then being proactive with addressing them opposed to putting a band-aid or putting
Yeah.
something of that nature. Because most individuals in this case do just think of the police, right? You think
Yeah.
of the justice system to offset a lot of these things, but that's not solving the problem for a lot of those individuals that you're supporting across the board. Now, being that this is a brand new office, right? You're the first director of the Office of Community Safety, so really starting kind of ground level building up for you,
Yeah.
right? How did your influence of actually being from Fayetteville play a role in you in the midst of kind of building your original vision for the office as well?
That's a good question because very similar to any city. If I didn't grow up there or if I didn't spend a good chunk of my years there, I don't know the context. I don't know the context on why E.E. Smith is such a well-known school in the city of Fayetteville. I do because I grew up here, but Mr. Turner may not. Same way if I go to Mr. Turner in Chicago and didn't know the reality between some of the high school basketball teams like Simeon and Whitney Young. I didn't know that. I had to Google it, but Mr. Turner may be very familiar with that. So
Yeah.
understanding the gist behind, besides having to do research, I think plays an incredible role. The biggest thing about when we think about even community violence intervention and prevention, the biggest thing about that is utilizing credible messengers. So credible messengers who can intervene because they have the influence and trust of those in the community. I recognize as a governmental employee that I will always walk in a room with community at a deficit. I represent a system that has historically
Mhm.
put people in positions to not succeed. I recognize that. What I hope when I go into these conversations and I've mentioned, oh yeah, I grew up over here. I went to school over here. I grew up on that side of the city. Then you begin to see some barriers and some walls drop a little bit. I'm still a
Yeah.
system, I represent a system. But I can explain how that old shop, that new building was once this building. I can talk about how the history beside on that part of the city and how J. Cole was at Terry Sanford and all that stuff and how Dennis Smith Jr. and all them were doing this and how we played against them in sports or how we saw I remember when the Crown Coliseum was like the thing that had all the shows, etc. But also recognize some of the harm that's been done to the city of Fayetteville by the city of Fayetteville. Um, is something that I think provides a sense of I would say, like, to your point, Marcus, like a bridge in a sense. Like there's some relatability that's not forced. It's just organic.
Yeah.
And that bridges gaps more expeditiously than I think people realize. Because if you're in Chicago, for sure you're gonna hear this. Don't act like you're from Chicago because they can smell it a mile away. Same with the city of Fayetteville.
100%.
Don't act like you from the
100%.
city of Fayetteville because they're gonna
Yeah.
smell it a mile away, and that's the reality when you're trying to build that trust with the community.
That's real. I got a question though. I wonder, like, was it intentional for you to come from Fayetteville and come to Chicago to do this work, or was it just a matter of
Mm.
happenstance?
Yeah, so I'm gonna keep it 100. Like I followed a girl to Chicago. I'm not gonna hold you.
Okay.
I know this is like I don't know what kind of podcast this is, but I'm always gonna keep it 100. I
Yeah.
so I
We can rap.
graduated
We
Yeah.
can
For
rap.
sure. For
for
sure.
sure. So I graduated college in 2020 during COVID, and then had the opportunity to move to Chicago. My background, I studied theology in college, so my degree is
Okay.
actually in pastoral theology. From there, I got involved with some community engagement and youth development work through multiple organizations near Pittsburgh, Aliquippa, Pennsylvania, as well as Columbia, South Carolina, etc. The opportunity to go to Chicago arose through that, relationship. But before I left, I made a decision that, hey, no matter what happens, like I'm still gonna rock.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
fast forward, that relationship did not work, but my time in Chicago was well spent because my first year, I was on the west side, North Lawndale, working in reentry through a program called Ready
Mm,
Chicago, Rapid Employment and Development Initiative, where we work with North Lawndale Employment Network to provide cognitive behavioral therapy courses to men returning home from incarceration, while also providing a workforce development piece, and then providing case management. So we're thinking about the wraparound services. When somebody comes home from incarceration, there's a um, like an activity you can do where you can in some capacity relate to someone through like a simulation of sort.
mm.
And when you come home from incarceration, I never experienced that, but then you got to think about where you're going to go, where you're going to eat, where you're going to stay. So having that bridge there was where I learned about how to address the real needs of people.
Yeah.
So that's one perspective. That's a community-based organizational perspective. Then the opportunity to go to the health department arose to learn more about policy work and how does a governmental system with a public health approach address the concerns. And I had the privilege of working with some organizations on the South Side through in Auburn, Greater Auburn, Gresham, Inglewood. There's
Mm.
some great partners in South Side Chicago. Tony Woods from Public Equity, Allison Scrutchins, Carlos Nelson, but I bring that up because that's where I saw how a government system can support community in addressing the concerns the community has. So we're not the ones figuring out, we're just supporting community and giving them the resources and support so they can create their own plan.
This video is brought to you by Nourished Hair and Body, a brand committed to keeping you looking sharp and feeling your best. Fellas, let's talk about the smooth oil. If you're rocking a beard or any type of facial hair, this oil is a game changer. Infused with fenugreek and horsetail oil, it makes your beard soft, shiny, and strong, helping you reach your beard goals all year round. Plus, it's got a smooth aroma that sets the tone right. And fellas, don't forget about your skin. This prime body butter is next level. It's whipped with mint moringa and tea tree, so it locks in moisture, keeps your skin soft, and even nourishes your scalp for protective styles, so our braids and our twists. Get yours from Nourish Hair and Body today and use my code JTurner0121. That's code JTurner0121 for 15% off. Take care of your beard, take care of your skin, and let's grow together.
And then fast forward with the mayor's office where um, I just was like kind of the go-to person along with my colleague Manny Whitfield regarding some of the community engagements and rapid response approaches to addressing concerns we see in the community. How do we coordinate through multi-agencies and community partners, et cetera, to address the needs that come to our attention? So when we think about like street lights being broken or community environments that are plagued with overgrown grass or shrubs, that plays a role in community safety. Why? Because someone could hide behind that, or somebody may treat their community like it's worthless because what they see is something that's not of value. So
Yeah.
how do we address that and make sure that people feel safe in their neighborhood? All that mixed together in 4 years when the opportunity arose to come home, and I'm seeing the application and that they're looking for basically all those components: multi-agency coordination, working with community engagement, working with youth development, working with community violence intervention. It was like, okay, the creator really aligned all this. And then I'm big on, like, if it doors open, then they open. Doors close, if they close. And I'm just grateful to be here in this position because the process was extremely expedited, didn't have no hiccups. And I have the blessing and responsibility of being home and developing this office here in the city that I grew up in. So the plan was not to really come back home with it. I'm not going to sit here and cap because Marcus knows better than I do. You know, people who leave Fayetteville, they come back to visit fam. They come back to go to the reunions, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
the high school games. But
Mhm.
I mean, even my friends, like none of them are in favor. They all left, and no one has a plan to come back. So for me to leave Chicago, a city that is extremely dope and provided me great number of memories, to come back home was and do this was something that I saw worthwhile, but also I saw it as an opportunity to create a space that I cherish and work with others to kind of ensure that it's safer, but also community members that I call neighbors have that higher quality of life overall.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. One, I think it was truly meant to be. As I talked to you and kind of learned about the journey, it seems like this
Yeah,
was really like you were sketched into it anyway, right?
yeah,
This
for
is
sure.
fate to an extent, and oftentimes I'm a huge component of. Sometimes you have to leave to soak up that game to get that additional perspective to be able
Yep.
to then bring back and add value to your community as well. I mean, I could say the same thing about Asheville. Like Fayetteville has ingrained so much in me that now I can add that extra layer of value when I'm going
Hmm.
back home to Asheville as well, opposed to staying in there, being in the mist, right?
True.
There's not really an additional perspective to be able to add. One thing that you are bringing back that I'm extremely fond of, and I had the opportunity to sit down with some of your former partners and learn a little bit more about, is activations. Can you
Yep.
tell our listeners a little bit more about activations and how and why they are so effective across the board as well?
Yeah. So activations is another term, I guess a more formal professional term for community events. And the purpose of activations, or as we're calling them too, safe space activations, it kind of goes back to that community led and data led approach. I had the opportunity in Chicago to learn how community events not just bring people together, but can be the tool that we as a governmental system I utilize to identify the right resources to address the needs of those who attend. So, for example, in Garfield Park, there was senior citizens who had like prom nights during the summer, and we would support them in getting like the dance floors, etc. But it's also the time that we would coordinate resources and we would work with the community. Like, hey, do we need to send, insurance people, or what other resource could be? Or let's say, for example, back to school bashes. That's an activation. You're activating a safe space for young people, and you got kids that are going to be there, and they're going to get their book bags. But also, you got parents there who may need employment opportunities, or you got moms or families who may need diapers, etc. Or that may be a space where community sees you in public and feels comfortable to address some of the concerns they have rather than you downtown at City Hall in a suit. So think about that when it comes to the city of Fayetteville, because we have community events happening. One thing I do not want to do is reinvent something that's already going on, because I also recognize community in the city of Fayetteville, like Marcus and others, have been doing the work prior to the office being stood up. So I want to make sure that's clear. My job coming in is to really be the entity to support community led programs and initiatives. And one of those is safe space activations. So my goal is to have safe space activations every week, two activations per weekend from April to August. So we're seeing from April, May, June, July, August, 5 months where every weekend there's two events for community folks to attend. And the goal of that, of course, is to really provide funding for organizations to, hey, you know best what your community needs. And you know that if I say to come out to our event, I might get some pull. But if Marcus, executive director of Roots Mentoring, says to come out to the event, you're probably going to see more folks there, and that's
Yeah.
reality. So with that in mind, if Root is throwing on an event, we as OCS can support them in whatever resources they need, and those resources could be something as simple as tables, tents, chairs, portable restrooms. It could be food. It could
Yeah.
be, hey John, like, hey, we good on everything, but I know there's some people dealing with this kind of violence, this category of violence. Can you bring a resource? We've had situations where in Chicago, we had groups put things down because we as a city were able to coordinate resources and block parties in one neighborhood, and it was quiet for remainder of the year, all because they were like, hey, if you bring our people some resources, we'll chill out.
Yeah.
And to the point, and I was like the extreme, but when it comes to here to see a favor and bringing back activations, these are community-led initiatives, and the difference is now you have an office who is fully devoted to supporting them to make sure they happen, and also identify and use those activations as bridges to close the gap of what community needs and the resource itself. If we say Marcus brings the people, we bring the resource, then we're addressing so many needs. And that's how we create efficiency. But also, that's the beginning of the process of decreasing violence in our city. So we're excited about that. We just released the RFP, a request for proposal, a grant opportunity for organizations in the city of Fayetteville. And really excited to get that going. Again, copy and pasting what Chicago has taught me, but we're really excited to get that going.
Man,
So James, real quick, because
yeah,
I
yeah,
see you
yeah,
over
yeah,
there
yeah,
brainstorming. The reason I really love this approach is, my grandma, the elders always say, I don't mind is the devil's playground, right? When we think about the crime of these different things, even in our youth, when we did a lot of dumb stuff, we just had time on our hand and we was bored,
for sure.
right? We
Boy,
didn't have something to do on a consistent basis. So
yep,
by having these activations, you're providing, yes, great resources, a fun, safe space across the board simultaneously, and it's for the people. It's for the people by the people, right?
yep.
Yeah,
I don't think you could go wrong across the board. Hearing that philosophy, that thought process was phenomenal. And again, I'm such a fan of the fact that you transition out the city to come back with this fresh new perspective across the
Hmm.
board. And again, oftentimes that's the part of the evolution. So I love that piece. James, what was your thoughts though, bro?
no, man, it was. I was just hearing what he was saying, and it's sometimes people think crime just happens. Like they don't think that it's a result or a response to something. And we kind of touched on it in the beginning. Like people may be stealing food from a store because they're hungry. It's not like they just
Yeah,
want to go in the store and steal. There is some senseless violence that happens, but a lot of time it is in response to them thinking that, hey, this is the only way for me to get something. Especially
yeah,
talking about those guys that are experiencing reentry after being incarcerated. It's like I can't really find a job, so this may be
yeah.
my only, route. But
Sure.
John, I want to ask you, man, because you work with health agencies, nonprofits, law enforcement. Like, what is one of the biggest lessons you've learned with one managing some of the egos that may come with that, but also how to bring those people together to collaborate on one of these activations and make it successful?
Yeah. um. Yeah. 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 I think at times it is complex to bring multiple people who are passionate.
Yeah.
Um. So I always try to never discredit someone who is doing the work and desires to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
Even coming into an office that is brand new, and even like I said earlier, people in the city of Fayetteville have been doing this work prior to me getting here. But now you have an office who said we're going to do these four pillars: youth programming, mental health, unhoused, community violence intervention and prevention. So I'm the new one, and my message to folks is, listen, I want our office to be the convener and coordinator. But to your point though, is when you bring in multiple personalities, multiple experiences, you do have competition. You do have, um, especially with like we think about grant funding. You think about everyone's kind of fighting for the same dollars, and I'm saying this because that's just a reality that happens in every city. But will say though, for me and my role, but also what I've learned from other leaders who have poured wisdom into me, is identifying and setting a common goal.
Yes.
And if we all have one North Star, which I hate that term, but it fits right here.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
we have one North Star, then then we have something that we can all at least get to. Like I may not like you, but you're trying to get that community safe. I'm trying to get that community safe. And that's truly our desire. Then you'll see people drop their perspectives and egos and kind of bring in the sense of, okay, I know what I need to do to make this happen.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I also believe from my experience is that when you set a goal and that goal is rooted in something that is of of purity and of really being focused on the work, then those who do not align because of other components, they will quickly reveal themselves. And at here in the city of Fayetteville, we are in the process now where we're setting that goal. Where moving forward, like this is the goal. The goal is to create a safer community. And my perspective is we will move in that direction. And if you do not align with that direction, then my desire is that I can show you how you can play a role even in the midst of you maybe not doing you want to do your own thing. But also in the day, I recognize too that if I'm here for the work and you're not here for the work, then my role and my job, because my responsibility to lead this office is to make sure that we're doing the things that are being effective and efficient to decreasing violence and making a safer city of Fayetteville.
So, John, the authentic element is definitely spot on across the board, man. But another piece of that, of being a leader of an office, an initiative as huge as you are, is having a team, right? We always talk about it, disseminating, being able to allocate different tasks, different things of that nature, so that we can make more of an impact collectively as well. So, I know you talked about a lot of mentors that helped you throughout your journey. I'm curious to know what is some wisdom that you've gleaned in regards to empowering your team so that you all can make that much more of an impact as this office.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the greatest, there's two things. So I know I love sports, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm a big Stephen A. Smith fan. At least growing up, I was. And I think now he's gone like political from what I heard somebody he's running for office or something. I don't know how true that is. But nonetheless, I bring him up because he always says one thing. My like greatest strength, or one of my greatest strengths, is that I know what I don't know. And then I also want to credit my old boss in Chicago, Greg Martinez, who continues to say that too. I know what I don't know. So when I think about the opportunity, because I'll be very transparent, I oversee an office as director, but my professional career is literally maybe like 5 to 6 years. And I kind of jumped from like coordinator, manager to now director very quickly. So, and I bring that up because there's a lot of time that all went very fast. So I'm really, when I think about how to lead a team, I'm really pulling in on those leaders who really poured into me, whether it was negative or positive. And I bring that up because when I see how I can play a role in really uplifting my team, who are right now, my team is very small. We have four of us, including myself. But I just requested to council, like, hey, like this office could be 20 folks within 2 years. If you really want a full fleshed out office, it could be safety. And I did request, that in my budget. So Marcus, if you want to go to public forum and support us. But nonetheless, I bring that up though, because I the best way for me to work is when people just give me the freedom to do what I need to do, and like I have the intuition and the knowledge to move forward without, hey, I need you to do this, do that, do that, do that. And there's some people in this world who have the same knowledge, but would appreciate some more support and like give me the steps. I'm more, let's go, I'll figure it out. And some people are more, give me the steps. So for me, when I think about leading a team, providing that support, the biggest thing is I need to listen on how do they receive leadership. Um, like some people, like people aren't really like this, but when I was playing football as a kid, like I listened when the coach yelled at me. But if they were like all soft and like, oh, you get next time, I was like, cool, cool, cool. But if I had a dude yelling at me, then I would probably listen. Now I'm not yelling at nobody, but I bring that up because people receive leadership in different ways. So I recognize that my staff are experts in their own fields. And what I tell them is you are the one leading this, whether it's community engagement, rapid response, being a program manager, working with juveniles, juvenile detention centers, et cetera. Like I have staff who have components of all of those plus some extra ones. Again, I know what I don't know. I don't know what it's like to provide mental health care to an unhoused individual on a daily basis, but you do. I don't know what it's like to work in the police department and oversee community engagement efforts and oversee this processes, but you do. And for my program manager, Nichelle, her background, she was a probation officer, started off as a 911 call dispatcher, then moved to be a probation officer now, and then was working with the juvenile crime prevention, and then is now working as a program manager. So she has experiences from her life that I've never had, never encountered. Same for me. I have experiences that they don't have. So with that in mind, how do I bring the puzzle pieces together? And my job is not be the one to do it, but to design it. So I'm saying puzzle piece should go here, puzzle piece should go here. Because at the end of the day, if I give them clarity and a pathway, then my hope and I'm optimistic that they will succeed. Now, guidance may need to be given, but my job is to clear the runways so much that they know they can just run with their expertise. And then my job as a designer is to really to ensure it is aligned with what we're trying to do as an office. But again, some people don't receive leadership that way. So if that's the case, then we have conversations and figure it out. But I think the biggest thing is learning those who you're working with, those who you're responsible for, and learning how they work so that I can pivot my leadership style the way I address them, because not everyone receives the way I talk, and that's just real. Um, that's how I would say that, Marcus, because again, we're all different, and at the end of the day, we have the same goal. So if you move and address that goal differently than I do, cool. We got the same goal though. So work's gonna get done.
Man, that's beautiful. You make me think of two quotes, man. I don't know who said this first one, but a wise man knows that he knows nothing.
Mhm.
That's the first one. And then I was thinking about this Napoleon Hill tape I was listening to, and he was talking about how Dale Carnegie knew nothing about the making and manufacturing of steel.
Mhm.
But he was like, "Well, what's your role in all of this?" He was like, "Man, to keep everybody together, keep everybody on point." He was like, you know what I mean? And so I think about that, man. But
Mhm.
um, John, man, we really appreciate you coming to the pod, man, and sharing your perspective and sharing what you do and why you do it,
Mhm.
man. Because I know there's somebody out there right now that is gonna listen to this and they're gonna be like, "Man, I didn't even know they had a job like that. I
Yeah.
didn't know they had a career that you can do that." And and I'm thankful because I'm like, man, I heard of community safety, like where I work,
Mhm.
we have public
Yeah.
safety, and kind of what I see what that is. I'm like, okay, I can kind of see the intersection, man. But we truly appreciate you, man. If you had anything to leave our listeners with, what would that be?
Um, I ain't know nothing about this job either. I'll be very transparent. My background is youth development. So for those listening, um, I really think that I'm in this position because one, it was God ordained, but also because I put the work in too. Like I
Yeah,
went above and beyond. I know we now live in a space where 40 hours a week is what is like the kind of limit in some capacity, and no shade to those who align with that. I just recognize that I had ambitions and goals, and I knew that I had to do what I needed to do to get that done, and that
yeah,
meant sacrifice, that meant some other things. But in the day, is what gave me peace. And Big Sean said it, as well as others, if it costs peace of mind, then it's too expensive. So for those who are listening,
yeah,
that's what I would tell you. If what you're doing is costing you your peace, then you need to switch and pivot. Because whether that's a career, whether that's a dream, that's a business or a relationship, whatever, if it costs peace of mind, it's too expensive. And we all know how how valuable our time is. And well, I'm gonna take that back. We all don't know. We all don't recognize that, because I still have to remind myself at times to recognize that. But at the end of the day, like our time is valuable, and yeah, if it costs peace of mind, it's too expensive. So I would say if that's do your thing, follow your heart. I don't know, be organic,
Yeah.
be real, be
yeah,
authentic,
yeah, yeah,
because like at the end of the day, like that's what I strive to be. And like you're gonna get John no matter where you're at, and I hope Marcus would attest to that, because he see me in multiple spaces. um so to that point, just be yourself, Cost peace of mind is too expensive, and if don't set big dreams if you're not willing to put the work in
If
either.
I ain't tell my boy we could just casual, he'd have been out here sharp in his suit, boy. I'm trying to tell you, but I love.
Bro, I had just got home 15 minutes ago with a whole suit on, and I was like, man, I probably should keep that on. I
Nah,
said,
you
nah, it's
feel.
Marcus.
I'm telling
Marcus
you,
probably gonna have a hat on.
Yeah.
you feel me? We
And he
vibing.
get on this joint.
You
We got
join the hat
backwards
club, man.
caps
But
on,
Hey.
all type of stuff,
to
man.
recap John's point, man, for our listeners, man, find what you're passionate about, be authentic in the midst of it, and go above and beyond, and your conversation will catch up to you on your journey, man. So thank y'all as always. Let's grow together, family. See y'all again soon. Peace.
We don't climb alone, we rise in weather. Every seed we plant, let's grow together. Truth in the soil, faith in the roots. Different paths, same table, same truth. Real conversations, watering souls. No cloud chasing, just taking control. Pain to purpose, lessons we share. If you still listening, you meant to be here. Apply what you heard. Reflect, move different. Until next time, let's grow together.